talk Newcastle. Newcastle are set to offer Alexander Isak a new contract at the end of the season and insist that he isn't for sale. We've spoken about their PSR issues, obviously, and why they might sell just to make some headroom for PSR, but can they even afford a contract that may be the biggest offer in their history? How does that affect their PSR?
You're right. This is a big problem for Newcastle right now. But the rumours underground still persist about Isak going to Arsenal. They just won't go away. And I don't know whether it's being planted by Arsenal or agents to try and manoeuvre that deal. I haven't got any firm information that's the case. But nevertheless, it does seem that Isak could command the sort of wages and numbers that Newcastle would have a problem matching. It's always a double-edged sword for clubs. I mean, I've been there myself when you say, look, a player's worth 150 million to try and ward off transfer fees from other clubs. And then, of course, you have to meet the player's agent and he says, OK, so you think my client's worth 150 million, then you pay him like that. So it's a double-edged sword for those clubs to try and handle that. But with Newcastle, we know they're tight on PSR. They do want to keep Isak. They've got to keep him if they're going to try and make any challenge going forward. I think once he had 13 goals in 10 games, something like that. I may be wrong, but it's something around that sort of level and 3 assists. Look, he's a quality player. He's one of the best informed strikers just now. A little worry about being injury prone to a degree, but still, I think he's the real deal. So, how are they going to make that happen? If they have to renew his contract to stop him from going away, they're going to have to break the wage structure. And as we said before, what it means is, and I think this is the answer to it for Newcastle fans, is that the Saudis have got to come to the party with giving more sponsorship money, and particularly regional sponsors around the world, that the PIF have contact with those big companies. They've got to find ways to get those sponsorships into Newcastle, get the revenue up, and that's the only way I can really see it happening.
And if they do get those sponsorships in, does that actually affect PSR for this season? Like, because we know they're close to the limit this season, but I guess if the Isak contract starts next season, it just resets for the 25-26 year of PSR and that intake, right?
Yeah, look, as I said right at the start, we could actually have graduated increases in the new contract for him. So that he carried on pretty much the same for the rest of this season, but with a big increase at the start of next season. There's lots of ways you can structure things to make the numbers work, but the bottom line is you've got to refill that bucket of cash somehow. And to me, with the riches in terms of partnerships and stakes in companies that PIF have, that to me is the way that Newcastle have got to get it going. And it's still relatively a small amount of money for PIF in the scheme of things. But if they were to increase Newcastle's revenues by 100, 200 million, it would make a big difference going forward. There are ways they could do it if they decide to.
And will Champions League football play a role in their ability to afford an Isak contract? Or does any amount of Europe maybe also help them towards that?
Yeah, look, of course it does. If you can perform well in the Champions League, Newcastle, did perform well but didn't get out the group stages last time. They're hopeful of trying to get up there again, this year. There's a lot of clubs hoping for that 4th and 5th places, and it looks like there's going to be a 5th place this year. So that increases the chances, but still, it's not something that they can count on to be able to make that contract right now. So I think it's more the sponsorship angle is what I think is more certain, and there's more control over that than the Champions League places. So Isak's, if they are going to do it though, Isak's got to be a major component in that push. So look, it's difficult decisions when you're in the hot seat of a football club, and it's no different at the moment for Newcastle.
And Eddie Howe admitted that the PSR rules actually blocked a move for Kusanov. We know they've been trying to add a center back. Mark Gahey didn't happen in the summer. What has brought their PSR limit to such a small portion of their budget that they're able to spend? Because it doesn't feel like in the last year they spent that much on player transfers.
Yeah, look, Almiron's going back out again as well. It hasn't been that much this last year, but if you look at it, it's over the last 2 or 3 years. There has been a significant disparity in ins and outs. And I think when you add up the numbers, it does show that it's really past spending that is still coming home to roost that they've got to cover. Look, they've made a good push. They did succeed. Let's not forget, they had a great first season, and they've improved the squad, and they're still pushing at the top end of the table. So, Eddie Howe's doing a great job. So it's just balancing the numbers now. PSR is making things competitive at that level, but still, as I say, there are ways round it, and I'm afraid the owners, in my view, have got to be creative in the way that goes forward. And the commercial director there, Peter Silverstone, has got to push his owners as best he can and come up with creative solutions to that.